Back in grade school, I brought this toy lion that had a basket for a belly to school because I figured the teacher could use a pen holder, and I just had this thing lying around. Lying around. Anyways, the teacher was like, cool, and used it. And one day when I needed a pen, which were free to use for the whole class, I saw that the lion's mane was a little uneven. I saw a pair of scissors in the basket that my teacher, or probably somebody else, placed in there, and I went ahead and grabbed it and gave the lion a haircut. I did this in the view of practically everyone in the class. What proceeded to happen was that every single one of my classmates began calling me the White Witch, in what I can only describe as delighted contempt for the next several days. See, what had happened is the movie Narnia just came out and little me hadn't watched it, but I gathered from all the jeering, taunting, and name-calling I endured, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from the story title didn't get along. At least the Lion and the Witch didn't. I don't know what part the Wardrobe played in that feud. Until now, I have not watched or read Narnia, and I never will. Not because of all the mocking and bullying I endured back then. Kids can be cruel, but honestly thinking back, that was kind of hilarious. No, I refuse to read Narnia because I'm not very fond of Christianity or other such religions, and I refuse to read what is basically an AU fanfiction of the Bible. Hey there, you don't know who I am. So I have been gone for a while. My absence was due to a mixture of being busy, I started a new job, and just not having enough spoons to do the things I like. Yeah, I'm working on that in therapy, but when June came, I knew I had to come back for obviously clear reasons. I didn't just want to casually come back since it's been such a long time, so I decided to do something a little bit more special for this video. Just a little love and care to emphasize that I still want to make quality content for you guys, but also that the topic of today's video is of great importance to me. What I'm trying to say is that I made artworks to accompany the topics of today's video. I'm going to skip over the usual spill of me saying that I don't really like calling myself an artist and just go ahead and show you guys what I made because I'm honestly very excited to make this video. With that, let's get started. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, if you guys read the title of this video, you'll know that we're going to talk about queer platonic relationships. So, a little backstory. What's the backstory? So let me explain some things first. If you guys don't already know, or you do already know, I'm just going to remind you that I'm aromantic. That means that I don't experience romantic attraction. That's similar but different from being asexual, because in their case, they can't experience sexual attraction. So while there are some people out there who are both ace and aro, in my case, I am an aromantic who is not asexual, meaning I can still experience sexual attraction. That last part is not really relevant to today's video topic. I just take any opportunity there is to tell people that not all ace are aro and not all aros are ace. Okay, so in the aromantic community, and to some extension, the asexual community, there exists this type of relationship that many aros have or have experienced or at least greatly desire. I've mentioned before that there's this common misconception that aromantics can't feel love or even desire love, but that's not true. There exists this very specific relationship that many aros desire. And while not all aros want this kind of relationship, a vast majority of them not only seek it out, but are actually ignorant of what exactly it is they are desiring. By that I mean that there is an alarming number of young aromantics in Reddit that don't know what queer platonic is, but when you explain it to them, they not only go, "Oh my god, you just described exactly what I want," they also go, "What the hell? There's a name for it?" It is both very endearing and also deeply saddening. See, while aromantics generally don't want romance, they still desire an intense connection with another person. But when they try to describe this to alloromantics and they don't know the term queerplatonic, alloromantics just end up misunderstanding and saying shit like,
You were just describing a romantic relationship. Sounds like you just want a girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband,
whatever.
And no, we do not want that. That's not what we want. No. What they want is a queer platonic relationship. So what is queer platonic? A queer platonic relationship is a relationship that takes traditionally romantic actions and other such characteristics and use them to express platonic feelings. It is a relationship that breaks down the divide between romantic and platonic relationships, and while it might appear to an outsider to have all the trappings of a very common romantic relationship, it is actually and absolutely all about platonic love. Queer platonic basically says no to the separation and divide between romantic and platonic relationships. Kissing, dating, and marriage is said to only be for romantic partners? Nah, fuck that shit. We're gonna do all of that if we want with our best friends. People in queer platonic relationships basically ignore and disregard all romantic contexts and connotations that come with these things and use them in an absolutely platonic manner. Have I said it platonic enough times for you guys to get it? Well, since I don't want this entire video to basically be an exposition essay, I would now like to further explain using 6 samples of what I consider to be some of the best queer platonic relationship representations I've ever seen in media. Basically, my bro TPs in pop culture layman's term. So yeah, let's finally talk about my top 6 favorite queer platonic ships of all time. Spoiler alert, I will be talking about some spoilers to better explain what makes these pairings queer platonic and or why I love them so much. So if you don't want to be spoiled, just mute me, I guess. I'll be putting the pairings on screen along with the art I made for them so you can still see them without being spoiled. Or I guess you can leave this video now and go check out my Instagram. I will be posting my art there too. I don't know, do whatever feels right. Okay, top 6 QPR pairings, here we go. Up first, we have JD and Christopher Turk from Scrubs. Okay, so where do I even start with these two? It's the affection, man. It's the affection. I just love it. People could say that JD and Turk have the best romance ever, and that's valid, but calling this a typical dude-bro relationship just doesn't do it justice. I mean, they made plans of how they were going to raise their kids together before they even met the women they were going to make the kids with. I absolutely adore their relationship, and they have a very special place in my heart. Especially because when it comes to male friendships being portrayed in media, there's either a lot of queer baiting or worse, making fun of these two for having homosexual undertones in their relationship. While there is no queer baiting because these two are sadly very heterosexual, there is a lot of other characters who make fun of these two because they are in a pseudo-homosexual relationship. But see, I love that. Despite everyone's, let's face it, internalized homophobia, at the end of the day, these two are proud to love each other. Cause even while JD and Turk themselves are sometimes ashamed to love each other so much, and even hold back their affections at times, in fear of being ridiculed, at the end of it all, they chose their love for each other. And I'll admit, I don't always appreciate how their fragile masculinity gets in the way of their friendship, and definitely hate the other characters for making fun of them. Those characters don't always get punished. I think the fear and mockery they experience is a very real thing that happens in male friendships. And I do believe that it's important for fiction to reflect reality. And while that's horrible, at the end of the day, they still choose to continue loving each other, and they say that it's worth it. And I just think that's beautiful. So now we have, what do we have next? So in the next pairing, we have Anthony Annie Carver and Catherine Kat Donlan from Gunner Creek Court. Alright, so let's have our first pairing with explicitly queer characters in this list. I mean, everyone on this list is extremely queer-coded, but since mainstream media sadly likes to be heteronormative, these things are usually implicit. But not with these two. These two are queer AF. Kat is in a romantic homosexual relationship with her girlfriend Pat, and Annie is at this point an asexual icon. But their individual orientations is not really what's important here. We're talking about their friendships. And Kat's and Annie's relationship is just epic. It's literally an epic. It's a long narrative with a lot of heroic and mythological elements. Like, there's a lot going on in Gunner Creek Court. and I'm not eloquent enough to explain it. And I also don't want to spoil too much because it is definitely a comic I highly recommend everyone check out. The latest thing to have happened, if happened even is the right verb tense, is time travel. Basically what happened was Annie was not supposed to exist because she died as a child. And Kat basically went, nope, that's not canon. And like comes into contact with these Norse deities and get them to send this robot she made back in time to save Annie, and it works. But Annie was saved when they were children, and Kat grew up without knowing this. So when she finally finds out that she created the robot that saved Annie, she had a major breakdown because she had no idea how to time travel. See, another reason why she had a massive emotional breakdown is because she's very sciencey and doesn't believe in the supernatural. And time travel is supernatural to her. So she was freaking out because Annie, her best friend in the world, was gonna die if she didn't figure this shit out. Anyways, the good news, all that gets resolved. But while it was still up in the air, and while I was deeply saddened to see Kat struggle that way, I also thought it was very beautiful. I've shared this before, but when I broke up with my best friend, it just destroyed me. The emotional turmoil I experienced was just so devastatingly horrible. But everyone around me couldn't understand why a platonic breakup was hurting me so much. So to see the emotional and mental turmoil that I felt reflected in Kat's character, to me it was just so important. Because I saw myself in her. I saw myself and I felt valid. Because again, Annie is her best friend, not her girlfriend. Kat is in a romantic relationship with another woman, but her emotions ran just as deeply and just as fiercely for her platonic best friend Annie as it did for her romantic girlfriend Pat. And I just don't have the words to explain how important it was for me to witness that kind of platonic love. It might be a small thing to many people, but to me, even though I was the one reading the comic, I never felt so seen in my life. So yeah, I highly recommend this comic because it's full of representation of platonic love like that. There is a lot, and like I said, that's only the latest thing to have happened in the comic. There's just a lot of scenes of how Antimony is willing to die for Kat and how much Kat is willing to kill for Annie. Go check it out! Next, we have Juliet Ferrars and Kenji Kishimoto from Shatter Me. I'm not gonna lie and say that the best part of this queer platonic relationship to me is the hand-holding, or the pet names, or even the innocent intimacy of being so close to each other, both emotionally and just in proximity. Nah, I'm not gonna say that, although that is all wonderful. No, the best part of Juliet and Kenji's friendship is how much it deeply confuses and upsets Juliet's romantic partner. It is hilarious that every time Juliet says that she loves her best friend, Kenji, her romantic partner has a fucking internal meltdown because the moron does not understand at all what platonic love is. I'm not even sure he knows the fucking thing exists. Juliet's romantic partner always just assumes Kenji is trying to ruin his life whenever Juliet has to stop paying attention to him for 5 fucking minutes because her best friend needed her help with something. And as much as I would love to talk about how wonderful this queer platonic relationship is, and you can tell it's queer platonic because both Kenji's and Juliet's respective romantic partners think they are in love with each other when they are in fact just best friends forever. Jesus Christ. I know I said QPRs have all the trappings of a traditional romantic relationship, but seriously, get your heads out of your asses. As much as I want to talk about it, I can't because whenever I think of the Shatter Me series, all I want to do is beg the author to rewrite the last book. Please just retcon this bullshit. It is garbage. Because I'm begging you that this cannot be the last shit stain of an installment of what is otherwise a great literary masterpiece of a series. I will sell you my soul. With that out of the way, I do think that Shatter Me is a must-read. Juliet and Kenji are the best, they are fantastic, it is awesome. Read the series, just not the last book. Robert Small and Damien Bloodmarch from Dream Daddy. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how much of my memories of Robert and Damien's friendship is canon or fanon, but I don't care. I ship it, queerplatonically. Don't even correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. But what I remember, these two met when Robert was probably drunk and down to fuck, and Damien was like, no, because he's classy like that. The rejection caused Robert to fixate on Damien, but instead of a romantic fixation, it was more of a fixation that happens when you do crack. Being an avid fan of cryptids and on crack, Robert is pretty much convinced that Damien is a vampire at this point, and brings around a stake that he whittled himself whenever he hangs out with Goth Daddy. Except, Robert is not really serious and just uses it as an excuse to spend time with Damien in cemeteries and in the woods at night. Although full disclosure, Robert did take it too far one time and did actually almost murder Damien that one day. And for some reason, Damien rewarded him with a dog. I don't get it either. But yeah, anyways, Robert's not really good at expressing his feelings and won't just admit that he likes Damien. So instead, the most affectionate thing he's willing to say, which he masquerades in a flirtatious pickup line, is that Mothman is bullshit, Goatman is okay, but Gothman is the best. But Damien can totally read between the lines of Robert's nonsensical babbling about werewolves and the Doover ghosts, and he totally gets that Robert's love language is literally getting stupid drunk and committing petty acts of larceny and arson together. If you ask Damien how they grew so close, he'd probably say it had something to do with both of them being Mary's BFF, which happened because both of them were humped and dumped by her piece of shit husband, Joseph, which by the way, fuck that guy. But at least thanks to him, these three have semi-nude, drunken sleepovers together. Damien may not be as unhinged as Robert, but when push comes to shove, he will definitely help his friend hide the body. And I'm just saying that's love and it's all canon. Okay, so maybe that all just happened in my head, and the reason why I ship these two so much is because Damien is my queerplatonic partner's favorite daddy. He loves him, and Robert was my main daddy. And I just wanted to feel close with my queerplatonic partner by having our respective dream daddies be BFFs in the game. Nah, that's not it. It's all totally canon. Next! Next, we have Eleanor Shellstrop and Tahani Al-Jamil from The Good Place. Okay, these two are the epitome of Sappho and her friend. These two are easily the best queerplatonic relationship example in this list because unlike the other pairings in this video, these two actually had romantic feelings for each other. They were both sexually and romantically attracted to each other. Queerplatonic relationships is all about taking traditionally romantic things and using them in a platonic context. And nothing is more traditionally romantic than romance itself. These two used romance to strengthen their friendship. It is the most hilarious and amazing thing ever. Yeah, it was brief, but these two women-loving women, okay, spoiler alert, everyone in the show is bisexual. These two women had sapphic love, sexual and romantic sapphic love for each other. And this brief romantic fling they had with each other, instead of using that romance to spark something more, well, romantic, they used the same romance to ignite an inferno of what is easily the best female friendships I've ever seen in media.
It was literally enemies to lovers to friends. Watch The Good Place, people. It is easily one of the best things you'll ever do in your life. And lastly, we have Sherlock Holmes and Joan Watson from Elementary. And they were roommates. Oh my god, they were roommates. I know that meme usually indicates that the roommates are not just roommates but are actually in a romantic relationship. And that's valid because cohabitation, along with an intense emotional connection, is actually traditionally a romantic characteristic. However, Sherlock and Joan are actually roommates, platonic roommates. But it is one of the most intimate and passionate relationships I have ever witnessed. And yes, that includes romantic relationships. And while these two are not my number one OTP or BroTP in this list, it is my number one recommendation for both aromantics and asexuals out there to check out. Why? It caters to ace and eros out there who are sexually repulsed and or romantically repulsed. Although full disclosure, their first meeting started out with a repulsively romantic speech. So gross, so cringe. But they started that low to emphasize how high they can go. I recommend it to anyone out there who is sex repulsed and or romantically repulsed, because there's absolutely no touching. By that I mean there's no hand holding or cuddling or hugging. Wait, they did hug 5 times. How do I say this? There's no hand holding or cuddling or other such casual touches. And they probably only hug like 5 times. And while I don't hate physical affection, actually the opposite, I eat that stuff up. I myself am romantically repulsed. And I don't like a lot of touching in my life. I need to be warned beforehand so that I can get to the right headspace for all the touching. Because if you don't give me a heads up, I will want to peel back the skin that was touched with a hot knife. No, I haven't told my therapist about it. I have other issues, okay? And sometimes you have to pick your battles. And yes, while I love to eat up all those touches and gestures of affection, I need a varied diet. And it's just so amazing to see that even without any physical contact, the love between these two is so explicitly expressed. And it's just as tender and warm and wild as any physical relationship, whether platonic or romantic. I mean, he named a bee after her. If that's not love, I don't know what is. Alright, so that was my top 6 favorite queer platonic relationship pairings. Oh boy, I hope I did a good job explaining what queer platonic relationship is. And full disclosure, this video originally had 12 pairings. But honestly, that was just a lot of work, and I just knew that if I did all 12, I would just experience a burnout, and I thought it would just be better to just divide the work. But I actually finished 7 artworks, so actually, do you guys want to see a sneak peek of, like, alright, so we'll just make this quick, okay? Okay, just a little sneak peek. Alright, so if you want to see the other 6 pairings I had planned for this video, just leave a comment below and let me know. But other than that, thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching it till the end. I really appreciate it. And if you're still confused about queer platonic relationships, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll try to respond. Other than that, just thank you so much for being here. So, I guess it's goodbye. Take care. Ingat.
Or more religions. Delete this part. They don't need to know about the quadrants.